that's not Mardi Gras. So yes, I had to push the salad away because you know what? It's Mardi Gras, also known as Fat Tuesday. And you know what? It was time for me to maybe take a break from my dieting, which I've been very good at. I've been working out and in lots of salads, hardly any fat, and no carbohydrates. But you know what? For Mardi Gras, I'm going to have all of the above. So I wanted to find wines that I thought would sort of epitomize Fat Tuesday or Mardi Gras, and something to celebrate before Lent begins. And if you stay tuned to the end and you want to do a little splurging, I'm going to share with you one of the wines I received for my birthday just a few weeks ago, and I can't wait because I'm going to open that on Mardi Gras, a little way to celebrate. So stay tuned there and I'll share with you what wine that is. So we're going to look at two wines for this week's episode, and it's Cabernet Sauvignon. Wow, how could you get any better for Mardi Gras than looking at the Cabernet Sauvignon? But I thought, you know what? Why don't we look at the Sauvignon Blanc, the Cabernet Sauvignon grape, but we'll look at it from two places. So let's look at one from Napa Valley and one from Paso Robles. And you notice I tried to find two wines that you could find at your grocery store, so there's no need to go out to a fine wine retailer to find these wines. You can find them at the grocery store, and they're about the same price, say between the $20 to $25 range, both from the same year, 2016. But it'll be really nice to sort of compare and contrast the difference between Napa Valley and Paso Robles, California. So stay tuned, and we'll look at each one. So let's take a look at the first wine, which is from Napa Valley. And this wine I think is one of those classic Napa Valley wines. 2016, a very nice year. It's a good one for you to try. And I think with both of these wines, they both have, they were going to remind you of black fruit, some plums and some blackberries, and maybe even some blueberries, especially with the J. Lohr. But both of them have medium to full body. But I picked these also because they're not too tannic. And it's probably one of the number one things people tell me why they don't like red wine is because it's too dry. And what's nice about these is, yes, they're dry, and you kind of want that to be the case, but you don't want it to be so dry that you can't taste any of those pretty fruits I was just telling you about. And I'll also notice with this wine that it had some spiciness to it. And I mean, in the way of it kind of reminded me a little of some cloves, and then even had a little bit of coffee or mocha notes to it. And I thought it was just really, really nice. So very well balanced. It's a beautiful winery if you get a chance to go up to Napa Valley. It's just, the Sterling Winery is just, you can't miss it. It's beautiful, and it's way up on the mountain. And in fact, the grapes to make this Napa Valley Cabernet Sauvignon came from all over the Napa Valley. So some from the valley floor, and then some from the mountainy areas up. But what's important to know is because it says Napa Valley, all the grapes had to come from Napa Valley. So it's not as though it's going to come from, say, Sonoma or Santa Cruz or Santa Barbara, any of those other places in California. Because the label has Napa Valley on it, boy, it better have 85% of grapes grown in Napa Valley, and this one does. Winery that's been around since 1964. Really nice. Again, you can find it at your grocery store. It's not too expensive, but it gives you a nice idea of a Napa Valley winery. And keep in mind that Napa Valley has about 400 wineries. Quite a few, and yes, it has a reputation of being quite expensive. This is really one of the few examples that you can find of a sort of mass-produced quality Cabernet Sauvignon that actually has Napa Valley on the label. Because boy, from here on up, the prices just go kind of through the roof. It's really getting tough to find a quality Napa Valley cab under $50. It's 75 and 100, and I think sometimes it's just a little tough for a lot of people to enjoy for, say, a Friday night steak dinner, and you maybe don't want to pay $125 or $75. I think this one is a nice alternative, especially if you're new to the wines from Napa Valley. I think this is a nice one to start with. So the difference between Napa Valley and Paso Robles, as we see, there are some differences. And let's take a look at the one from Paso Robles. So let's take a look at the wine from J. Lohr. And I think you've maybe seen a couple of my other episodes. I just absolutely adore this winery. They make so many different wines at so many different price points. You're going to find something you like, I believe, from J. Lohr. They're in the central part of California, right? So outside San Luis Obispo. It's a beautiful area, very agricultural oriented. Way back in the day, they were known for growing almonds and alfalfa. So it's sort of that laid back California, quintessential Central California area. I really loved when I used to go there. So this wine is sort of their entry-level Cabernet Sauvignon. I think I can't wait for you to try it. Very approachable. The tannins aren't too high. Wonderful with food, especially when I think of some of the California grilled meats, like to say a tri-tip or a very relaxed, laid-back California steakhouse. Very different than out here on the East Coast with lots of leather booths and a bit more stuffy. Again, Napa kind of is known that way now for being sort of where the elite like to go tasting. And you know what? You can go tasting in Paso Robles at their winery and a lot of the other wineries practically for $10 or less sometimes, and taste some wines and have a great picnic, a very relaxed ambiance. Versus Napa, right, where I've had to pay $50 sometimes for a wine tasting. Very, very different experience. And Paso Robles only has about, say, 200 wineries. And remember, Napa had about 400. So you can tell that there's Napa is much more expensive. Paso Robles is a little bit more affordable, more approachable, easygoing, laid back, and Napa's none of the above. So I think it's a very nice way for you to try the Cabernet Sauvignon grape. Remember, it's a noble grape, so it's going to have a lot of those characteristics, and doesn't matter where it's planted. But I thought it would be a very nice way to enjoy your Mardi Gras with two Cabernet Sauvignons, same year, not too far apart, say 5 hours away from one another in California, but gives you sort of that nice little juxtaposition between a Napa Valley Cabernet Sauvignon and one from Paso Robles. Delicious wines, either on their own, again with grilled meats, I would say, for sure. And I think a nice way for you to sort of see the difference between these two very, very popular and famous regions of California. Enjoy. I hope you've enjoyed this week's episode where we looked at two great Cabernet Sauvignons from California, one from Paso Robles, one from Napa Valley, so you can sort of do a compare-contrast between those two really nice areas. I also promised you I would share with a wine I got for my birthday, and I'm going to have this with some seriously grilled lamb chops, and I'm going to have so much white rice on there you won't believe it, just for the day. And I'll get back on the good diet and back on the treadmill. But this wine I chose because it sort of goes with those other ones. And why is that? This wine, Saint-Estephe, is a very famous area in Bordeaux, but it's from the left bank. And you may have heard left bank and right bank. Left bank wines are typically Cabernet Sauvignon based wines. But as you've known from watching my shows before, when you talk about Bordeaux wines, they're always a blend. So it's going to have Cabernet Sauvignon, it's going to have Merlot, it's going to have Malbec, and some other grapes that they put in there too. And the right bank usually has a lot of Merlot. But I'm finding these days, depending on the weather and the vintage and what the growing season was like, that kind of changes. So this one, even though it's on the left bank, should be a lot of Cabernet Sauvignon. This one is just barely a little more Cabernet Sauvignon heavy, but right behind it with Merlot. So it's very interesting. I think a lot of it has to do with our climate change. So I'm going to splurge and get this wine, or have my birthday wine for Mardi Gras with some grilled lamb chops and some wonderful Persian rice. I can't wait. I hope you enjoy it. If you want to know more about this, let me know. And I hope you've enjoyed watching all of our episodes. Thank you for being such loyal subscribers. And there's so much to learn about wine. Thank you for being on the journey with me. And let your friends and family members and coworkers know about our channel. And we'll keep spreading the great news about how to appreciate the world of wine together. Until next time, everyone. Cheers.